Welcome and thanks for joining us. My guests today are Paul Ghattas, a solutions architect for ThunderCat Technology, and Matt Bragaw, solutions principal for federal services at Dell Technologies. Good to have you both with us today. And let's start with the question of provisioning. This is a big part of employee experience, customer experience, and also where that needs to go. Is this simply orchestration and automation, or is it something more than that these days?
Yeah, so at Dell, we've been doing this for a very long time, and we've teamed closely with great partners like ThunderCat to continue to look at pain points and how to address them. As technologies continue to change, there's been great improvements around this. Federal's been a little, some of those features haven't been available to federal customers, such as autopilot, but we see those coming soon, and I think it's going to create a really great opportunity to create automation and to dramatically lower the cost of provisioning and also improve the user experience while doing so. Well, autopilot is a feature that was built, first came out with Windows 10 and is also in Windows 11. And it kind of takes the imaging out of imaging, if you will. You don't have to manage drivers. It's a little bit more like a smartphone. And so that makes it super easy to provision a device using more of a self-service experience like a lot of users are used to on their cell phones.
So do we give people a blank PC and they plug it in and download things, or how does it work now versus where it used to be loaded maybe for you, but it wasn't exactly the load you needed?
So they are now FedRAMP authorized, so you can provision your autopilot for the devices that your users need, and everything just comes as it was supposed to be without any manual calls for IT, and lowers that calls for that expense.
So as people then work hybrid, there's less of a, I guess, bifurcation between provisioning for home office or remote office versus in the office. It's one environment pretty much no matter where you are, it sounds like.
That's correct, yes.
Yep. It's really exciting because it lets users work much more the way they're used to. And exciting as these features come to federal customers because there's a lot of demand for that. It's important for talent retention. And so having users be able to request this themselves really helps productivity, reduces frustration, and hopefully brings us closer to parity. With some of the commercial solutions out there, it's a very exciting step.
And on the collaboration front, how does all this help? Because even people coming into the office now, as more and more feds will be doing, that's kind of where the push is. You could still be on platform-based video conferencing even if you're in the office. It's not like everybody's all there at the same time. So in many ways, what you do in the office is going to look like what you've been doing at home. Fair to say?
That is correct, yes, and that's the whole point of it. So, this work from home that we've been through since the pandemic, they've been using certain collaboration tools such as Microsoft Teams. That's also FedRAMP authorized, and that's how they've been conducting day-to-day meetings. And they want that same experience when they're back in the office, right? They don't want to have the question of how do I use these new tools now that I'm not at home. It's all same using with autopilots, personas, and everything that gets provisions to your device, whether it's your laptop, your phone, etc.
Yeah, so the cloud becomes central not just as the point from which you provision, but also the area where people are collaborating, because then the experience is the same versus when people were going through a VPN to the data center, or you were in the office on your LAN to the data center. You might have a totally different experience.
That's correct, yes. So, there are still people using VPN, or agencies using VPN, that they still are trying to get away from that now, because trying to have that bottleneck where you're just trying to go through a pipe to your agency. Now with their secure data, everything's encrypted, all your sensitive data is secured on Azure Cloud. They don't need to worry about that frustration, slow experience, and it just makes the experience the same way as going from home back to the workforce.
Sure, and as more and more people are remote, agencies are hiring people on the basis of being able to have a good experience, not teleworking, but literally remote. It could be 2 time zones away, same experience.
Yes, that's correct. And even if you're in conference rooms now, so now nobody's crowding around a laptop, right? You have MTRs for Microsoft Teams rooms where you have a camera that's going to wide shot everybody in the room. Those can also be provisioned from Azure Cloud, and you're going to same user interface experience that you have from your Teams desktop, and it's just the same as you're going to push to join your meeting that you schedule through Exchange, and you're talking to your participants on the other side just like you were on your laptop.
And let's talk about a persona. This idea of persona seems to be coming into this whole provisioning model, this whole download type of model. And so what is a persona exactly in this day and age? And I'm got to ask if artificial intelligence is part of this, because it seems to be part of everything else these days.
Absolutely. So I think persona is one of those consulting words probably that gets a little overused over the years, definitely. When I think about a persona, I kind of think of two pieces, right? One is something that's going to be more central to the agency or the organization, that's more role-based and about like their rules, their applications, the stuff they need to do their business job. The other side of that's going to be their behavior, right? So are they, like you said, remote? Are they moving around in a single building? Are they going out to remote sites, or are they very stationary? This behavior element really informs a lot about what the user needs from a device, from a collaboration experience. And so this is really, really important for reducing costs, improving user experience. As we continue to explore that, we're going to see that AI is going to fit tightly into that, right? We're going to see that AI fits tightly into that, in that understanding user behavior, requirements for business roles will help illuminate what that user needs to do their job. The more you understand that, and as these AI technologies come online, you're really going to be able to see something very analogous to the .com boom in terms of user productivity and new capabilities for users that's very predictive and really lets them accelerate what they can do in a shift.
And I imagine there's a good security implication for this, because then the persona is tied to their behavior, and so anomalous behavior stands out maybe more sharply. By the same token, someone who does have behavior that, hey, they're here, then they're there, would make it easier for them by the same token.
Yes, that's correct. So earlier this year, Microsoft announced that they have their OpenAI on Azure that is also FedRAMP authorized. So that allows all your sensitive, unclassified information to be secured on their environment. It stays on the backbone. It doesn't hit the public internet, and it is now secured with FedRAMP authorization. So now your AI can tell you what kind of analytics maybe you have in your conference room, how they're being utilized, how many people are utilizing different spaces of different size conference room. So now you can use that data to now analyze how your conference rooms are utilized for your Microsoft Teams meetings.
Right, so you can really plan your space and your logistics too, as well as how your people work, fair to say.
That's right, correct.
Yeah, and I think it's a really great point what you said around security, because you're right. In this really security sensitive day, understanding their behaviors really dramatically increases what kind of policies you can build off of that.
And I want to return to that point of Microsoft Azure now supporting autopilot. That's a big deal. We kind of went by it pretty fast, but that's significant, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah, so that's going to allow for, you think about the process flow of how a endpoint gets provisioned. It has to have line of sight at some point today to be able to join the domain, to be able to get apps provisioned, to get encrypted, a lot of really important things. And so with autopilot, that lets you skip a lot of logistic steps and go straight from your source of procurement all the way to the end user. And so that's going to dramatically reduce costs. It's really going to improve user experience. And I think people are going to adopt it very quickly once it's available for all federal customers.
And do you find that the IT departments that do all of this provisioning and all of this connection with the cloud and so forth, are they ready for this?
I think they're going to catch a breath of fresh air as how easy it is, with especially autopilots and persona going hand in hand, where personas, you're just grabbing a group of users with a common base applications that they may need provision, and then you pair that up with autopilot, so I can have my marketing team already set to go with the applications that they need versus my project management team with their applications that they need. All provision and IT just can do this effortlessly.
All right, some great thoughts. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Our guests today have been Paul Ghattas. He's a solutions architect for ThunderCat Technology, and Matt Bragaw, a solutions principal for federal services at Dell Technologies. I'm Tom Temin. You're watching Federal News Network. Let's go back to the studio now for more on Workplace Reimagined.